I'm Wendy Conklin, and my company is Chair Whimsy.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I want you guys to really put your creative hats on because she just doesn't have a nice background. She designed that beautiful background. I have Miss Wendy Conklin, and she's going to give us the game on Chair Whimsy and how she refurbishes old chairs. I got a couple old chairs because I'm, kind of a 200-pound guy and break them. But Wendy, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Tell the people, especially those creatives who, creatives get a hard time, especially when they're, 14, 15. You can't make any money doing that. Give us the game on how you created your company.
Yeah, so, it actually started as just a hobby, which I think most creative endeavors do. You try a bunch of things and, and for me, I just try things to stretch myself, to be a little more creative, to put myself in uncomfortable situations. And, upholstery was something I didn't know how to do. I mean, I tried to dabble in it for several years, but didn't use the right tools, didn't know the right steps to do, and it was hard, honestly. And so back in 2012, I took a couple courses, and I was like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. These are the tools you're supposed to use, and it was so much easier. And so for me, it just started as a fun thing to do. I've always loved chairs. For some unknown weird reason, they just can light up a room. And so I thought, these will be fun little makeovers because I always like to DIY things. And so, I just started, and after I finished my courses, I thought I'm going to open an Etsy shop. I'm going to see, can I sell a few things? I had another career. I was an educational consultant. And before that, I was a teacher. And, I had a good career. It paid well. They treated me great. And I had no thought of like crossing over to the dark side, to do just, something creative. And, but over time, I started selling more and more and started kind of learning the game of, okay, I priced that too cheap. I need to charge more because I'm not making any money. And, and so that business just kind of accidentally grew. And, as you do more creative things and you practice what you're doing, you're always practicing, I think, because you're growing as a creative and the way you think about design. It just kind of snowballed from there. I sold more and more, and it got so much so to like a little over 4 years ago, I got to quit my day job to do this full time. So I feel very, very lucky that I've been given the privilege to do this, and I get to be creative all the time, which is really fun. It's just the best job. And plus working for yourself, as you know, is like the best thing ever, and being your own boss. So just kind of evolved from there.
Now, tell us, when you told your family and friends, I'm going to quit my day job and I'm going to do this full time, how many people said you're crazy, or did they all say, of course you are? So because we all get, that look like you're going to do what for yourself?
Right. Well, it had been a long time in the making, actually. My friends had seen me cry so much because I wanted to be able to do this, but not having the ability. I had two daughters who were getting ready to go into college. And so, I mean, there were financial responsibilities that I had, and no one was harder on myself than I was. But, I think my friends had seen me in so much anguish and wanted this for me, and my husband did too. And of course my kids, I think everyone for me was very supportive, which may be really opposite of what a lot of people experience. I mean, I was the one thinking back in 2013 and 2014, who can do just chairs and make enough money? Like I was my own critic, probably more so than anybody else. If they thought that, they didn't say it to me. And I'm sure there were some who did, but it's a very strange thing when people say, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I do chairs and I teach other people to do what I do, you know? And so they think that's that's always a conversation starter, because who does that? And I thought at the time that, you know, most people, I mean, who would be able to do just chairs? I thought I needed to like be an interior designer or, you know, but to niche down into something like chairs, I had never heard of anybody doing that. And so for me, that was unusual. It was crazy, you know, and I tried to do other bigger things and it just kept coming back to chairs. And I realized, well, you know what, maybe I do that. And you know, it's been a really interesting journey. I've had very supportive people around me. But maybe if I had tried this like 20 years ago, it would have been a lot more critical with other people and how they felt about it. But for me, I think I was my biggest critic. I was the one saying that rather than other people.
Wow. Well, I mean, we could say you do chairs, great, and in excellence, but even looking at your website, looking at your social media, do you do all of that yourself or did you gather a team? Because all of that, I'm like, even seeing the little dots point up and go like this. And I'm like, that person has a great eye for art.
Yeah. So I do the chairs myself, but I have a great website designer. I have a great copywriter who helps me with the website copy. You know, as far as my own social media, I do all my own social media and you know, most of my pictures I'm taking with my iPhone. I've got a couple professional pictures that I've just had done that I'm using too, but mostly it's with my, you know, it's just with my little iPhone. And you know, but the people that I surround myself with as far as workers, they're more contract people. So like when I need something updated on my website, I've got a great gal who does it. And she's got you know, web developers on her team that help bring that vision to life. So I get help in the areas that I'm not good at, the heavy detailed tech, you know, like the website, like getting a really good copywriter when I need good copy on the website. Those are what I have discovered is those are the things to spend money on, because it is your presence and they have a way of capturing your words, your thoughts, your intentions, either visually or in words that communicate to the world who you are and you know what you're all about. So I do use people like that, and I have a couple of virtual assistants who help me who live, you know, across the country or in Ireland. I have one, and they help out with like just little mini projects that I need. You know, managing certain things, video editing skills if I need a video done, things like that. But other than that, I mean, I'm doing most of the work. So it's, you know, it's a lot of work when you're your own company, your own boss. But then when you're not good at something, you get people to help you. So.
And I love that you express that because so many entrepreneurs and especially will say, you know, you're getting kids who are becoming millionaires overnight with crypto, Forex and all, you know, YouTube. I represent influencers and all type of people. And, you know, people are just killing. I need help. I just got over 1 million subscribers. I've been on this thing for a week. And sometimes people have a hard time gathering teams and sharing that money. And shelling it out. So I'm glad that you could share that so someone can say that's what's been maybe holding me back.
Yeah.
I see your designs though, and I look at it and I'm like, the way you've done it in excellence. Have you thought about a TV deal or even having your own YouTube because you put so much into the art and into everything that you do?
Yes, I have actually really wanted to do a YouTube channel. So it is something that kind of was in the works to get done this summer. But then, of course, I got derailed with doing an online summit, which I'm doing in a few weeks for creatives. and doing a retreat next spring for business professional women. So it is something that's on the list to get done. As you know, there's probably a mile long list, but it is something that I would really love to do a YouTube channel, mainly because it's just another outlet to be able to serve my people, the people who, want to understand, how to style chairs, how to put together a room. Like I always start a room with chairs. So, people have their different techniques. Some start with a rug, some start with the sofa, or art. I view chairs as the art in a room. And so for me, that's my starting place. And I know it's a unique and different way to think about it. So to be able to share with my followers how I do those things, how I think, it's something that I found that they want to know, I mean, I guess when you start sharing and you start getting, feedback like, wow, would never thought about it like that. And you're like, oh, really? Because that's just how I think, so doing a YouTube channel is definitely something on the radar and it's on the list to get done at some point this year, hopefully. So sure, I would do TV if there was an opportunity to do something like that. I would love to do that. I just was on my first live morning show last month, and that was very exciting and stressful and everything else, but I really like it. And I really view and I think you probably do too, you understand this, that, everything that you put out into the world, it's really to serve people, to help them think in a different way, to help them live better lives, to live more joyfully. And so that's really my goal in everything that I do. I'm trying to view it through those lenses, how can I serve people, help them? And so, I mean, because that's fulfilling for me. It makes my work meaningful. It's not just, I want to create chairs in my own little bubble. It's really to help other people live more joyful lives.
And I have to ask, because looking at, your pictures, you say every room starts with a chair, but even the way you have your decor on the wall and how you designed what's behind you, do you also dabble if someone says, well, I want you to do my chairs, but I want you to do my whole room. Hey, do my whole house. Is that even something that, the people can get?
No, not really. And the reason is just time and bandwidth, it's interesting because some people will come to me with a blank slate of, okay, I want these chairs and I want to, put them in my own space. And we can do anything at that point, and that's their starting point. And then they just kind of add. Sometimes they'll send me emails, hey, do you think this would look good in there? And I'll definitely give my feedback of what I think. But other people come to me and their room is done and they need chairs at the table. So that's what I get most of the time. So I'm having to work backwards, and I'm having to figure out fabrics and style of chairs and things like that to help them, fill their space with something that the just kind of the finishing touches, which for them are the chairs, so they've kind of thought backwards on it. But in a perfect world, yes, I would have time for all of that. And I would love it. It would be a big challenge to do, and it would be something I'd like. But, honestly, there's only so many hours in the day, right? So.
Yeah. And you're doing, it's great to be able to monetize your life, do something that you love. I mean, that's like the childhood dream that they tell us as kids, do what you love and that you're able to do it. So it's a beautiful thing. Now you have also courses that people can go to. Tell us about, how that works.
Yeah, so my very first course, DIY upholstery, it's a course for beginners. Any of the chairs you see on my website, you can learn to do. So my background is as a teacher, so I am very adamant that people need to start on something that they can finish and that they can feel really good about and do successfully. So I start with simpler chairs. You're not going to start with a sofa, or a love seat. You're not going to start with a really detailed chair that has a big curved back, because those are really hard, and they're hard, cuts to be able to make and everything. So I believe in starting with something simple so that you can finish, because there's something that happens when you finish a project. You get the confidence like, oh my gosh, I did that. and I can do another one, you know. And a lot of people, I think, start on really difficult projects, and it's something they can't finish, you know. So anyway, to say all that, it's a course for beginners. You learn the right tools, my steps and methods. Every upholsterer kind of has their own tools and tips and tricks for doing it, but I teach the way I do it, and I learn from other people the way they did it. And so that's kind of a course for beginners. And that all began a couple years ago. And I was challenged by my business coach to, you know, do a course to teach other people. And I was like, nobody is going to want to learn this from me, you know. I mean, and so I thought, okay, I'm just going to put a post out there and see if anybody is interested. And I thought it's going to be crickets today. And I could not believe the number of people who are like, yes, do a course, please teach us. And I was like, really? And so, because I was thinking, you know, people just go to YouTube and they can figure it out from there. But I guess some people want a method. They want a step by step by step, instead of just trying to piece together, you know, YouTube videos, which you can totally do, you know. But anyway, I teach a method for doing it. And we have a private Facebook group where people get support, and they post their before and afters. And it's like so exciting. People will say, this is my first chair and it's not perfect, so don't look too close, but I did it, you know. And you can tell it's more than doing chairs. That's the thing that I've discovered for people. When we make things with our hands, it's more than just making the thing. It is a transformation that happens in you. It's that confidence that you get. It's a way to creatively express your thoughts and desires and hopes in a space. And there's just something about it that does something for people. And so that's kind of been a journey for me to understand that as well. So I have that course. I've got a course on fabric mixology, which is how you mix and match patterns, because you'll see that in a lot of my creations and things that I do. And people ask me, well, how do you do that? Like, why are you putting all these different fabrics together, and how can you make that work? So I have a course on that. And those two courses kind of open and close throughout the year a few times. But then I've got a course on like fabric sourcing, because people always ask, you know, where do you get your fabrics? And so I teach them how to hunt online for fabrics. And that's a really cheap $37 course. And I've got a course called Just the Bottoms. So if you want the beginner to the beginner course, that is the course to take. And it's just, how do you do the bottom of a chair, you know? And so it's very simple. So that's a super easy one to start with. And then I've got a business of chairs course, and that kind of came out of people asking me, well, how do you make a business out of this? You know, how do I even do this? And so I had to know that there was a need. And so since there was, and people were asking, so it's more like a coaching style course. It's more of a passion project for me. It's not it's not something that I view as, this is a big money maker, because a lot of coaching programs are, and there's nothing wrong with that. But mine is more of, I'm dealing with makers. I'm dealing with people who really are wanting to bring their dreams to life. And so I'm willing to share, you know, my experience, my background, and we kind of all just share together, there's a very powerful thing in that. Everyone helping everyone. So right now I have only women in it, but I mean, we're open to men. It's just, you know, it's mostly women who want to do it, which, by the way, is very cool for upholstery, because in the past, upholstery has been a man's thing, you know. So like, there's a lot of women taking over now, you know, doing this. So it's quite fun. But yeah, those courses have just really come out of people asking me, well, can you teach us how to do this? And I'm like, okay, let me figure out how to, you know, package that into a course so that you can learn. And then I've got a little $19 styling course, and it's basically how I style with fabrics on a chair. And so you're kind of getting into my head. It's more like of something you would watch on your iPhone. You know, how do you get into my head, and why am I putting the fabric in this position as opposed to that? Because it makes, like, fabric placement is everything on a chair. And most people just don't think about it until it's pointed out to them. If you had just placed the fabric a little differently, you're going to get a different look out of it. And what are you really going for? So whenever I quit my day job, you know, I was an educational consultant and I trained teachers. I would travel all over the US. And I thought, okay, well, I'm done with teaching, you know, and I didn't feel sad or happy about it. It was just, okay, this is a new chapter and I'm doing this. So I never thought I would go back to teaching. So it's really cool how it's kind of come full circle, and I'm back to teaching again, so it's quite fun. And I'm really glad that I have that skill and I know how to do it, which is something everyone can learn how to do, but it's something that I'm using from my past. And that's the thing, like when you do creative endeavors, you do end up employing things from past careers or past experiences that you would never think that you would be able to do. You just don't know how all the experiences in life can come to help you out later, and so it definitely has helped me in that way.
Definitely. And a course like this, I recently put out what I'll call my first real course, where I sat down and said, you know what, I finished it, let me sell it. But your course is something that it's so practical and they can, try. You might be a little clumsy like me, but you can at least try. Where I have a course like how to travel, especially to Africa, and the little tips and tricks, and everyone can do that. But to put like a consulting course, when people do that, I'm like, all the degrees, all the certifications, everything. I don't know how to tell an 18-year-old, oh yeah, you can do that. Or a 44-year-old, oh yeah, if you just do what I've been doing for the past 20 years,
I know
you can get here. That's, I don't know, but your course, very practical stuff that, people can do. And I was even thinking when you were talking about it, I'm like, this is something that school districts could buy for classrooms, because learning is changing, especially with virtual learning. So I just throw that out there because I'm an RFP type of guy. I'm always looking for the RFQs, source of socks, all that good stuff from the government. Now, with the success that you've had, and I truly believe the best is yet to come, because I could almost think your YouTube channel, I just know from your traction online, it's going to be a great channel. What is a community give back that you're doing now, or that you would like to do in the future?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. I mean, one thing is I do have a private Facebook group that is open to the public. You just have to request to join. And for me, it's not, we call it Team Chair Whimsy. It's on Facebook. And that was something that I started last spring. I had done a Facebook challenge back in January and February called the Ugly Chair Challenge. And it was $10 to join. That basically paid for my Facebook ads that I ran to it. And it was 5 days of how do you transform a chair, and it's all about the design process. So you take an ugly chair, and first we learn how to find chairs, we learn how to pick out fabrics, we learn what paint will we do with the fabric, because the paint is always driven by the fabric, and it's basically about how do you design an ugly chair. It wasn't necessarily doing the upholstery, but that led into opening my upholstery course. So if you want to learn upholstery, now that you know how to design, you can join. And we had a private Facebook group for that challenge, and people were begging at the end of that, can we please continue this Facebook group? And I was like, oh no, God, after you do such a big project, it was really hard to manage the group. And so I said, well, I'm not ready right now, but I'll try to get a group together later. And so a couple of months later, we opened a private Facebook group that anyone can join. You just have to request. And it is a hub for people to show off their creativity. I mean, it's mostly with chairs. You see mostly chair makeovers. Some people are in my course, some people are not. But it's just basically about how do you express your creativity. There's some people who will, post something maybe about their garden or about dishes or, home design or whatever, but it's mostly chairs. And so people are it's crazy how much that encourages people and lights up their day. And so that was one thing that I realized, and I use my virtual assistant to help me manage that group. Like so this is where you get help, when you need it, kind of going back to that conversation, but she admits people in and keeps the ball rolling. And I pop in there and comment on things, but it's a very vibrant group. And so that was one thing that and again, it came from people asking, what can I do? I really view my social media posts every day as a way to serve my community too. I mean, they're written by me. I manage, I do my own pictures, I write everything. I'm a real believer in, even though it's a lot of work, I'm a real believer in doing that, because I think it's a way to connect with people, to connect with your audience and those who are, surprisingly fans, that it's an honor for me to be able to talk to them, encourage them. I've had people who will send me a DM and say, I just want you to know I've suffered with depression for years, and I look forward to your posts every day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what an honor. I had no idea. I just thought I was posting a picture of a chair, and but it does, so in ways like that, these little ways on social media, I hope my YouTube channel, when I can get that up and going, will be the same thing, that it can really serve people. But like broader than that, one of the goals that I really want to do, which my chairs and courses hopefully will finance, is, I would love to be able to purchase some smaller homes around, fix them up and help homeless families. There are so many families who have just had a string of bad luck, who need a break. People with children who just can't make it, especially during COVID. This has been, it just kind of was the cherry on top to a lot of struggles that people have had. So it's been a real desire of mine to be able to financially be able to do that. And so that's like my hope and dream. That's, yes, I want to help my kids pay for their college so they don't have to take any more student loans. I want to help, my family, meet their needs that they have. But beyond that, for me, it's a passion to be able to help people in any way that I can. So that's really a goal. And I'm hoping I'll get there, because that's meaningful. There's just too many people struggling that I think living in a space that would lift them up, and give them some hope and give them a break. I think that can just really, I really want to make a difference, so that's a goal and a dream of mine.
Well, that sounds great. And I'll tell you, you have brought me back into reality, because you had said something about, hard chairs. And I have what I call a daddy's gift of, like, a big super Nova massage chair. And I told my wife, I said, why couldn't I have this wrapped with my own? Because we she's from Cameroon, and when we're in Cameroon, I see how they're doing the upholstery, and I just love the furniture and how they're doing it right there. And I'm like, why can't I have my chair done like that? And she's like, why? And now you've told me that would probably be even more difficult to do, because it's always moving in different parts. And why take someone through the stress of saying yes, and I want my face in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and then there's something, so when I get custom orders, which is mostly what I do on my chairs, there's something, people want something that is unique for them. First of all, and so that expresses their creativity, and they also want a hand in designing it. So that's what's kind of fun, is even though I'm really doing the work or I'm designing something, when someone can say, yeah, but I got to say yes on that fabric, or I got to, whatever, it is something very special. And I think that brings a lot of people joy and happiness, knowing that, this isn't just something I got down at the Lazy Boy store. This is something that I had a hand in making, and it expresses something of me. So whether people are doing it themselves, which I think is good for all of us to do something, whether we're baking or gardening or making chairs or making pillows or whatever it could be, to be able to express, or they have someone do it for them, but they have a hand in designing it. There's just something about that. I think that really does something for us as humans.
Definitely, definitely. Now, I when I was doing my research and I was looking at everything, and I said, wow, okay, she has the blog, she has this. Do you have a book out? Because your name is very, there's some authors out there. And I'm like, is she also a children's book author, or is the book yet to come?
Yeah, so hopefully it's coming. Now
Okay.
I have authored things in the past. So yeah, if you look me up on Amazon, you'll see all my educational books that I've written. So I'm not afraid of writing books. It's just having the time to really sit down and organize. But yes, there is something that's another thing on the list as well to do, because I would love to have kind of my overall philosophy on life, on chairs, on how to live and how to help makers understand how to teach what they do for others, and that's kind of like going back to what you were saying a little bit ago, trying to teach someone the hard, gosh, there's a lot of layers there, but I would really like to do that. I've had someone ask me, who's not a chair person. I work with people who want to turn chairs into a business, but what about makers who knit or who, do other kinds of things, make jewelry? How do they teach other people? Is there a way I can teach them how to teach? Because I know how to be a teacher and I've taught teachers. So it is a skill that I do think I have. So it's trying to figure out how to package all that knowledge that will be actually very useful and not just, superficial. Oh, well, you just, it's all about the filming. It's about how do you put together content. I mean, my background's a curriculum writer, so to me, it's just second nature. So I have to think about, well, how do I express, how do I tell that? So I definitely think a book could help someone, maybe even a course on that I can constantly update as, technology changes. Okay, now this is the best, sound to use. This is the best camera to use, whether it be your phone or be something else, to be able to film. So I definitely think something like that would be really great. And I think it could be definitely in a book too. So
Yeah, and when you're ever get, tired of talking about the business, you can even go and talk about how you did this as a family with your husband and your children, because we
yeah.
have so many people online who are experts in everything at the age of 22, and some of them even maybe older. But to talk about marriage and not be able to be married or stay married, or always being married and then being married, over and over. Like there's, that life advice that you can give that someone in their 20s can't be a life coach, in my opinion.
Right.
You haven't seen
Right.
enough life. I tell my guy friends, you can't be a life coach until you get a prostate exam. It just,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't know enough. So I love this. And I want you guys, for the listeners and for those of you who are watching, I thank you. The audience on the watching on the different platforms, it's picking up even internationally. I want you to go check out the links in the description box. What would you like to leave the people with, and where can they find you?
So you can find me at chairwhimsy.com or on social media, Instagram at chairwhimsy, Facebook is chairwhimsy as well. And if you sign up like for one of my freebies on my website, you'll get my weekly blog. So I do send that out every Sunday. That's another way I try to serve my audience is through my blog. I don't try to spam you with a bunch of emails unless I'm launching a course and I'm telling people about it. So that's definitely one way to find me. But I think what I would like to leave everyone with is this, I think we are all makers at heart. It doesn't matter if you don't have to do chairs, but I think in some way we're creators. We're made to do those things, especially things with our hands that we can do, whether it be, gardening or cooking or, creating something from a mess. And I just really think that it will transform you, whether you are an accountant, or whether you are a painter, it doesn't matter. I think the value of being able to create something that will not only serve yourself, I think you'll be surprised at what it does for other people too, which makes it meaningful. But I think there's just something magical that happens inside of you when we actually do things with our hands and we create. So I'd like to encourage everyone to find something that will stretch you a little bit, because that makes you more creative at your accounting job or whatever it is that you actually do. When we stretch ourselves and put ourselves in an uncomfortable situation to learn something new, there's magic that happens for us and to us, so, and I'd like to say to all those makers out there, if there's many of them who are listening, I love the Steve Martin quote, it's along the lines of be so good that they can't ignore you. And when you want to turn something like that into a business, your goal, your hard work, because it doesn't happen by not working hard, but your hard work will pay off. I mean, be so good that they can't ignore you. Put everything that you have into it. And I mean, how else would we even want to live anyway, right? So that's what I would leave you with. Those are my couple pieces of advice.
You guys have gotten the game from a styling guide to the website, to the blog, to the YouTube that's on its way. I wouldn't be surprised after that if TikTok and everything follows. Make sure, if you do nothing else, you guys share the game you have been blessed with. It will change somebody's life.
Hi guys, I'm Kai Gabiam from the Diaspora channel, a lover of Africa. If you love Africa as well and you would love to visit one day or to relocate to Africa, there is a course out there for you. And this course is My First Trip to Africa, a course well put together by a seasoned traveler, Kellen Cash Coleman. This course is designed to prepare you to travel better, which will save you both time and money. And the great news is this course costs only $20, guys. It can't get any better. Go right now and enroll to this course at www.diversifiedgame.com. Don't miss out.